Monday. When we're old and decrepit and looking back at the end of our lives, will we be proud of who we are? When you're 46, male, married 24 years to the love of your life, will you start posting on r/6 saying wife refuses to pleasure me? Without reciprocation? Oh my god. I don't know if this is gonna even be worthy of a video. I just was going through the controversial posts on r/6 like I always do, and I hang out and I'm just sort of goofing off. And this came up, and I love looking at old people for some reason going to Reddit for advice about someone they've been married to for 24 years. If you are married for 24 years, the only people you should be talking to about relationship problems are your wife and your therapist. You should not go to Reddit. If you've been married for 24 years, you need to start talking. You need to start communicating. Also, enough with this in general. Go talk to real people. Stop asking Reddit. Reddit is not the place to ask for advice. On some of these threads, they actually can be pretty level-headed, like I sometimes say, blasphemously, that Redditors sometimes can be level-headed on certain subreddits. And since I'm on controversial, these are the posts that r/6 doesn't like. So if they don't like it and they're Redditors, then that means that I'm probably gonna get some good content. But for real, most of the posts are pretty good. They're not, I wouldn't disagree with most of the stuff that makes it to the top of the pages on places like Ask Reddit or r/sex. But don't hold me to that. I don't actually visit these. I literally just go on them to look at the controversial posts to make videos. Besides that, people are really mean on Reddit, so I don't like going on there. Let's see what this guy has to say. I always get a little weary when someone is like, oh, I've been dating this person for this long and they suck. Especially in person. If someone tells me that, someone's like, oh, I've been dating, my girlfriend for 6 years and, sometimes she yells at me. I'm like, hey, maybe you gotta go, man. Stop dating people for a long amount of time. Stop acting like you've got the sauce. You don't have the sauce. Your brain's just not fully developed yet, and that's okay to understand, okay? So don't get married until you're 25. Just kidding, you can do whatever you want. I'm not your dad. I'm not gonna sit down here and tell you what to do with your lives. I trust you guys. You're adults, And if you truly believe that that person's the right person for you, get married to them. Have kids with them. Make legal promises to them that will screw you over if anything goes bad, so you know that you'll stay together forever. I should just start shooting videos back there. Okay, let's watch this. I'm not watching anything. Why'd I say that? I'm too used to watching stuff. And every time there's a Nick is not green video, or green is not Nick, whatever you want to call him, if I'm not talking, I'm not interested. There should be no other audio in these videos except for me. Don't play anything. Don't put any sound effects in there. Don't do it. 46 male, married 24 years to the love of my life. If she's the love of your life, dude, you should probably get used to telling her about your issues with the relationship and stop asking Reddit. You are literally 46. Embarrassing. Imagine being 46. We have a great sex life, but occasionally, when she's on her period, I get really horny, and I'd like for her to ... help me out. Dude, you're 46. Stop talking like that, you weird man. I don't think he understands that he's talking to a bunch of young men in their 20s right now when he makes this post. So the guy gets horned up and he wants his wife to help him out. There's also a thing called off that he can do in his bathroom, but I'm not going to tell him how to live his life, I guess. I want to say that I am very attentive to her when we have sex. I make sure she has an orgasm before penetration. Again, a lot of these words will probably have to be censored for the sake of money in my wallet and me wanting money overall. And she tells me she is satisfied. Okay, she prefers vaginal sex. So after I go down on her or finger her and make her come, she wants me to be inside her. We have to censor some of the phrases too, because if it's too dirty in general and you know what we're talking about, YouTube's gonna flag us. So I'm I don't know how a woman's gonna edit around this one. She doesn't like to perform oral sex and refuses most of the time, which bothers me a bit. You started off the post by saying you have a great sex life, and then immediately at the start of the next paragraph, you're like, well, she sometimes refuses to me off. Dude, what do you mean refuses? Refuses? Are you asking her aggressively? If she doesn't like it, I feel like that's the end of the story. And if you want someone who likes it, you're gonna have to find a different partner. That's the issue with a lot of these stories is hey, I want something and my partner won't give it to me. What should I do? And it's you have to weigh the scale. Is having the partner important enough to you to not have that thing you want? Or is that thing you want important enough for you to end things with your current partner and find someone else? But the answer is never try to figure out how to make your partner want to do the thing that you like. You can try to get your partner to watch the movies you like with you. But I think once you start talking about someone off, it's I don't want to do it. Cool, done. End of conversation. Refuses makes it sound like there was some sort of back and forth. She doesn't like to perform oral and refuses most of the time, which bothers me a bit. Now, before anyone says just go off, I said that. So I made a mistake. And so he got me. Okay. So 1 point to weird 46-year-old Reddit man, because I told him to jerk off and he got ahead of me with it. Now, before anyone says just go jerk off, I do that 99% of the time when she's having her period. But every once in a while, I'd like her to give me a job. Dude, it's just, if it's a period, you can't jerk off 99% of the time. So you're telling me 1 week out of every month, 99% of that week, you are just jerking it. I guess multiple times throughout the day. Let's bump the numbers. The guy does it 2 times a day. Somehow. He has to finish 2 times a day. I'm being so generous with him. He is 46. He's not finishing twice a day. So I actually am not going to be generous with him. It's generous to say that if this guy wanted to goof off one time a day, 7 days a week, 99% of the time, I'm taking him very literally. 99% of the time he does jerk off, but 1% of the time he wants a hand job, which if we're talking about 7 days, that means over the span of 14.2 months, you want one hand job during one of those weeks. Just one. So a little over a year, this guy needs a handy and his wife won't give it to him, and it's causing a lot of trouble in the bedroom. No, realistically, how is this an issue if you're saying that you jerk off 99% of the time? I know you don't actually do that, but even if you do it 70% of the time, that's still a very small amount of time that you're gonna, but you're saying 99. That means you're always doing it, and every once in a while when your wife is specifically on her period and you are horny, you want her to give you a job. As a 46-year-old man, you really need that job, man. With your wife of 24 years. What are you doing, man? Grow up. Go invest in stocks and pay your taxes and have children and go to, beer tastings in Germany. Am I being insensitive? When I bring it up to her and try to discuss it, she says, quote, "Why should you get to release it if I can't?" I don't really understand that line of thinking. While it's not really the same, there have been times where I wasn't able to finish due to, I suspect, getting older and being on antidepressants. No, yeah, I got you there. Those antidepressants will kick you in the ass. And yes, there is context in every relationship of how much the give and take is. And personally, I don't think that there is like some weird bank where it's like, if you get to finish, I should get to finish. I've never felt that way about anything, but I think even asking and trying to push the conversation is crossing a boundary. Because at the end of the day, if you're not being completely honest and you're not trying to do everything you can to make that person feel comfortable in the current situation, then you're putting yourself over the other person. And if one of you is putting yourself over the other person, then you're not gonna have a good time, especially in 24 years of marriage. And at the end of the day, if she says, "Hey, I'm not in the mood, I don't want to do it," literally the conversation should stop there. You should be like, "Okay, cool. You want to do something else? Ask her about something else." But if someone says no, there should be no convincing in the world of physical intimacy. It's a very vulnerable thing that you have to do, that a lot of people have a lot of fear over, and trying to pressure someone into doing something they don't want to do in a physically intimate situation causes them to lose trust whenever they're in that situation with anybody else. If you make them feel uncomfortable, you are going to scar that person for the rest of their life, because they're never going to feel like they can actually be comfortable in a situation, because they're going to feel like they're going to be pressured by every person they're with. So don't mess that up for somebody. It's not that hard. You're an asshole if you're pushing someone on that. No one wants to be with someone who doesn't make them feel like they're actually worth anything in the bedroom. There's my lesson for the day. So basically he can't finish because he's on antidepressants, and he's like, "That's not fair because sometimes she gets to finish and I don't get to finish because I'm on antidepressants." Yeah, but then it's not her fault that you didn't finish. I was on antidepressants for the longest time. I still am. I'm still weaning off of them because it ruined my life. But when I was on them, surprise, surprise, nothing's coming out of the barrel. It's tough. But it's not your wife's fault. You're the one on the meds. You don't get to say, "Oh, she didn't get to finish." I was on meds for so long. You just learn to appreciate what you have, So he's on antidepressants. And he says, "There was a recent time when this happened and she tried to help me finish, but it just wasn't happening. It feels kind of weird saying this, but I was very appreciative and made sure I told her. At this point, it's less about getting off and more about the feeling that she isn't interested in making me feel good." But not everyone, especially when they're on their period, is interested in sitting there and giving you like a 30-minute job because you're on SSRIs and you can't come. That has nothing to do with the situation at all. Why would anyone who's on their period and who is not interested in doing that would want to sit there, just do work when they're not getting anything back out of it? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be generous in a relationship or that's not a normal thing. There are a lot of relationships where that person is into doing that stuff and would be okay with that and comfortable with that, and that would be a part of the relationship, and that's great. But specifically in this relationship, why would your wife go out of her way if she really doesn't like doing that? Why are you trying to get her to do something that is all about you? You guys have been married for 24 years. If you're frustrated, you have to talk to her about it. You're gonna show her the Reddit post and be like, hey, all these people, they think that you should have sex with me. Because no one said that. Everyone in the Reddit post thinks you suck. Okay, let's read the top comment though. My question to you would be, have you ever pleasured her knowing from the start there was no chance of reciprocity? Reciprocity. I gotta figure this one out, man. Reciprocity, that was a curveball. Reciprocity. That is the curveball of the day, guys. We learn something new every day. Reciprocity. The practice of exchanging things with others for mutual benefit. See, because the thing is, the guy might not be able to, blow his load, but he was still getting touched. And the actual act of the sex is supposed to be also part of the sex. That should be hopefully just as good as the actual end of it, or else you're not doing it right. So the question is, has this 46-year-old man started pleasuring his wife from start to finish knowing that there was no other touching going back? They said not because you were unable to finish, but going in knowing that you were going to bring her to an orgasm and not get off at all yourself, and that you were going to perform the act that gets her off that you find unpleasant, and you are not feeling great physically and your hormones are out of whack while you're doing it. Just some honest thoughts about why she isn't being selfish as others have said. Give this some thought and decide if you think she's being unreasonable or selfish. Then I would ask, if your sex life is great in general, is having to satisfy yourself for 1 week out of the month worth making a big deal over? Just a little food for thought. Especially if he's saying that he's jerking off 99% of the time. Is it really that big of a deal to bring up? If every once in a while you want a handy and you can't wait until your wife's in the mood? There is no chance that that guy actually does any of that. His whole thing is like, she finished, but I didn't. But you still tried. She still tried. So what are you worried about? There's no hypocrisy coming from her side at all. It's literally just this guy's being a horny old man. And basically the comments are saying the same thing. This is just like not a good emotionally mature, sexually mature person who knows how to actually communicate with another person. You've been married for 24 years, man. There should be a very healthy relationship built out of that. By the time you get married, you should be at that point. You should not get married until you fully understand the communication between you and your partner. What are you doing for 24 years on a Reddit post asking for advice on something that is very obvious? But unfortunately for a lot of men, they're not put in a position where they're actually taught how to treat people in bed with them. They are taught that they need to go out and hook up with women and, be a little playboy and they are not taught how to properly respect someone and make them feel comfortable, which I think you learn as you meet more people who are like you and similar to you and hold the same moral values. That comes through when you actually talk to people on a normal level. You talk to friends of yours, you grow regular relationships, and you start to understand how to take care of people, not just on a platonic level, but on a romantic level also. So my advice to anyone out there who feels like they want to get to that point, I'm obviously there. I'm so well adjusted and I know how to talk to people. No, but really, it really is all about continuing to have conversations with people, feeling more comfortable in your own body, and knowing how to be vulnerable to people in an emotionally mature way. Even on a platonic level, you can feel very connected to someone in the same way that you would feel in like a marriage, like with a friend. Some people might not agree with that and might think that the romantic part of it is such a step up, but I feel like as you grow up, you start to learn how to show love in ways that aren't just sexually towards people. And that's how you start to be truly happy, because you're not just having that one person with you the rest of your life. You have all these friends who you have close relationships with, who know the ins and outs of your lives, and you can also make out with them, with the boys. What I'm trying to say is that emotional vulnerability and maturity does not exist solely in a romantic form, and these are things that you can practice without needing to be in a relationship, because I think if you're not ready to be in a relationship, you can be a big danger to yourself and other people if you're not sure how to properly communicate and have respect for another person. So if you're thinking about starting some big relationship, just take a deep breath and get to know the person more. You don't need to jump into this whole thing for 24 years and make a Reddit post about it. I don't know. I'm just trying to give everybody a little bit of Nick advice, which is, not worth a lot on the market these days. I'll tell you that much. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and watching this video. I have 2 videos on the screen right here that you can check out. They're so funny. Oh my gosh, they're so funny. Hopefully one of them isn't super serious. That would be awkward. You can check out the podcast link in the description down below. My socials are down there. And I think that's everything I got. Comment down below and maybe I'll come down there and say hi and say what's up and say peace. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.